Kai did not tell Seren about the dream right away. He told himself it was because he wasn't sure it had been real. But in truth, it was because he wasn't ready to hear her response. The words, "find the others," echoed in him like the steady pulse of a drum. The more he tried to ignore them, the stronger they became. Seren noticed something was off. She was too sharp not to, but she didn't press. She simply kept the starling moving, charting courses over ridges, through storm-churned skies, across forests that shimmered with phosphorescent vines. Every horizon they crossed left Kai more certain the world was alive in ways no one had guessed. 3 days after the hollow expanse, they stopped in a trading hub known as the Skywell. It was not a city like Luminara, but a sprawling platform built atop a natural geyser that sprayed plumes of mineral-rich steam high into the air. The steam crystallized as it cooled, forming glittering structures that looked like frozen lightning. Merchants from across Calypsis gathered there, their ships docking along the platform's edge, their stalls filled with strange goods scavenged from the wilderness. The starling settled onto a berth with a soft hiss. Seren killed the engines and stretched. "We need supplies and information." Kai unstrapped himself. "Information about the expanse?" "About anything unusual," Seren said. "Places where the ground hums, lights no one can explain, old stories, traders hear things the council never admits." The Skywell was alive with sound and color. Drones zipped overhead, carrying crates. Vendors shouted in a dozen tongues. Spices strung Kai's nose, sharp and sweet. Everywhere he turned, there were wonders, feathers that shimmered like oil, crystals that whispered faint tones when held, maps etched into living leaves that shifted when unfolded. Seren moved with practiced ease, bartering, laughing, asking questions in ways that didn't sound like questions. Kai followed, wide-eyed, trying not to look too green. At one stall, a grizzled man with a scar running down his cheek leaned forward when Seren mentioned the hollow expanse. "Stay away from that place," he rasped. "Things sleep there, things older than the sky." "Older than the sky?" Kai asked before he could stop himself. The man's eyes glittered. "You think this world began with us?" "No, boy, Calypsis breathes, she dreams, and sometimes her dreams wake up." Seren exchanged a glance with Kai, then pressed a few credits into the man's hand. "Any other dreams we should know about?" He hesitated, then nodded toward the far side of the hub. "Talk to the glasskeeper. She's seen things in the wastes, things that glow in spirals." Kai's pulse quickened. Spirals. They found the glasskeeper in a tent woven of translucent fabric, lit from within by shifting patterns of color. She was an elderly woman with skin like burnished copper, her hair bound in silver threads. Before her sat a collection of crystal shards, each one glowing faintly. When Seren asked about the wastes, the glasskeeper touched one shard, and it flared with light. "I saw towers of glass half buried in sand," she said. Her voice was soft but clear, carrying like music. "Not built by us, built before, and at night the towers sang. Spirals of light rose into the sky, calling to one another." Kai's mouth went dry. "What did they call?" The glasskeeper's eyes met his, sharp despite her age. "For others, for kin, for pieces of themselves scattered across the world." The words struck him like a blow. "Find the others." His hands trembled. He opened his mouth to speak, then shut it quickly. Seren glanced at him, suspicion flickering across her face, but she said nothing. The glasskeeper leaned closer. "If you go, beware. The wastes are hungry. They swallow those who walk without purpose." Seren thanked her and led Kai back into the throng. When they were alone, Seren said, "You're pale as a moonstone. What's going on?" Kai hesitated. The words burned in his throat. Finally, he said, "I had a dream after the expanse. The thing we saw, it spoke to me." Seren stopped walking. "Spoke to you?" Kai nodded. "It said, find the others." For a long moment, Seren said nothing. Then she swore under her breath. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" "I wasn't sure it was real," Kai said. But then the glasskeeper, she described the same spirals, the same call. Seren pressed her hands to her temples. "Spirals, towers singing." "Kai, do you realize what this means? That I'm not imagining it? That you're in deeper than you know?" Seren said grimly. She began walking again, faster now. If the entity marked you somehow, if it's connected to you, then we don't just have a mystery, we have a target painted on our backs. The council will not like this. Kai hurried to keep up. Then what do we do? Saren's eyes gleamed with a dangerous light. We follow the call before they do. That night, the starling lifted from the skywell and turned her nose toward the desert wastes. As the trading hub shrank behind them, Kai stood at the window, his reflection caught against the stars. His pulse thudded with fear and excitement. The horizon was calling again, and this time he was not just chasing it, he was part of it. The wastes began at the edge of the known. From the cockpit, Kai watched the land unravel into emptiness. The lush forests and silver rivers of the lowlands gave way to a sprawl of cracked plains, their surfaces rippling with heat even under twin suns. Wind howled across the ground, carrying dust that glittered faintly in the light. Beyond that stretched the dunes, rolling seas of sand, shifting endlessly, swallowing anything foolish enough to wander without care. Saren piloted the starling with grim focus. The wastes don't forgive mistakes. Once we're deep in, there won't be help if we falter. Kai pressed his forehead to the window. Then we won't falter. Saren's mouth quirked, spoken like someone who doesn't know how easily sand eats ships. The further they went, the stranger the world became. Some dunes glowed faintly at night, their grains releasing pale light when disturbed. In other places, glass-like spires jutted from the ground, twisted into shapes that seemed too deliberate to be natural. Kai swore he saw movement among the dunes, vast shadows gliding just beneath the surface, but when he blinked, they were gone. On the third night, a storm rose. The starling's hull shuddered as winds slammed against her sides, carrying sand sharp enough to pit glass. The cockpit filled with the scream of particles scouring metal. Saren wrestled with the controls, jaw clenched. "Hold her steady," she muttered, more to the ship than to Kai. "Come on, starling, don't let me down." Kai gripped the chair, every muscle tense. Lightning forked across the dunes, but it was not like lightning he knew. It spiraled, great arcs of energy twisting into perfect curves, vanishing into the ground with deafening cracks. His skin prickled. The spirals. The storm raged for hours. At last, the winds eased, leaving the ship coated in a fine layer of dust that glimmered faintly in the dark. Saren slumped back, sweat beading her brow. "Welcome to the wastes," she said hoarsely. Kai didn't answer. He was still staring at the spiraling scorch marks the lightning had left on the sand below. By the sixth day, they reached the towers. Kai spotted them first, a cluster of shapes jutting from the dunes like broken teeth. As the starling descended, he saw they were not stone but glass, enormous structures half buried, their surfaces smooth and faintly iridescent. Some leaned at impossible angles, as if frozen mid-collapse. Others rose straight into the sky, their tips shattered but still gleaming. And they sang, not with words but with resonance. As the wind struck the towers, low chords vibrated through the air, harmonizing, shifting, weaving into spirals of sound. The tones wrapped around Kai, seeped into him, made his bones hum. He staggered. "Do you hear it?" Saren nodded tightly. The glasskeeper was right. They landed on a flat stretch of sand near the nearest tower. Up close, the glass was veined with strange patterns, like frozen rivers of light. Kai pressed a hand against it and felt a pulse, faint but steady like a heartbeat. Then the spiral began. It started as a shimmer in the glass. The veins of light brightened, twisting into curves, winding tighter until they formed a spiral glowing deep inside the tower. The resonance shifted, harmonizing around it. Kai's vision blurred. He felt the hum in his chest, matching his heartbeat. The spiral reached outward not with light but with thought. Another found. The words filled him, not spoken, not dreamed, but felt. Kai gasped. "Saren, did you?" Her eyes were wide, but she shook her head. "I hear the tones, but not whatever that was. What happened?" Before Kai could answer, the sand erupted. A figure burst from the ground at the tower's base. Not human, not machine. Its form was fluid glass, limbs shifting, reshaping with every movement. Spirals of light coursed through its body, the same patterns that had burned into Kai's dreams. It stood tall, taller than any human, faceless yet aware. Kai froze. The being tilted its head, and the spiral inside its chest flared. You are marked, it resonated inside him. The cord binds you, Kai staggered back. Marked by what? By the first voice. The one who woke. We are fragments, we are echoes, you are the bridge. Saren stepped forward, hand near her weapon. What does that mean? Bridge to what? The being's chest spiral pulsed. The others must be found. When we are whole, the song will rise again. Kai's skin prickled. And if we don't find them, the spiral dimmed, then the silence will consume all. Without another word, the being sank back into the sand, vanishing as quickly as it had appeared. The resonance of the towers faded to a low murmur. Kai stood trembling, heart racing. The words burned inside him. You are the bridge. Saren exhaled slowly. Well, she said at last, looks like your dream wasn't just a dream. Kai swallowed hard. No, and now we know what it wants. Wants? Saren's eyes narrowed. Kai stared at the towers, their shattered tips gleaming in the twilight. No, what they want. The starling rose silently from the wastes, leaving the glass towers glimmering behind them. Kai could still feel the resonance of the first other pulsing faintly in his chest, like a song half-remembered. Saren piloted with careful precision. The signal from the tower was strong but localized. Whoever or whatever the next fragment is will need to follow the energy spikes. They don't last long. Kai nodded, gripping the edge of the cockpit console. How many fragments do you think there are? Saren didn't answer immediately. She flicked switches, scanning the horizon for faint anomalies. Finally, she said, enough that if the council hears about them before we do, they'll try to lock them all down, and enough that if we fail, it won't just be the wastes at risk. Kai swallowed. So we can't fail. She gave him a sharp look. No, not this time. Their course led them across the crystalline flats, a desert-like expanse where jagged quartz formations erupted from the sand, reflecting the twin suns in 1,000 directions. The land shimmered, creating illusions that made distance impossible to judge. Kai leaned forward in the cockpit. How do we even know which one is real? Saren smirked. You learn fast when the desert wants to eat you. The starling glided between the towering crystals, the engines humming like a living thing. Shadows stretched long across the flats, and Kai's eyes caught movement at the edge of vision, glimmering shapes darting between the quartz spires. Creatures, he whispered. Saren shook her head. Probably dust wraiths, harmless if ignored, but curious. Keep your hands inside the cockpit, unless you want a very bad surprise. Kai nodded, heart thudding. He had never imagined anything could be so alive and alien. Every glance outside revealed something new. A crystal that seemed to breathe, a shadow moving against the light, a spiral etched into the sand glowing faintly like a breadcrumb leading forward. After hours of careful navigation, the starling's sensors picked up the faint spike they had been chasing, a shimmer of energy rising in pulsing waves, just visible through the crystalline haze. Got it, Saren muttered, adjusting the course. Hold on, this one's tricky. The starling descended toward a canyon carved entirely of translucent quartz. Inside, the walls refracted light in impossible ways, turning the space into a labyrinth of rainbows and shadows. Kai's stomach twisted. How do we even get through that without smashing into something? Saren's grin was sharp. By trusting me and the starling. They threaded the ship through narrow passages, the light bending around them, creating illusions of endless corridors. Kai caught glimpses of shapes moving in the refracted reflections, sometimes humanoid, sometimes something else entirely. The canyon seemed alive, aware of their presence. At last, they reached the center. A chamber opened up, vast and hollow, filled with floating shards of crystal that pulsed with faint blue light. At the center hovered the second other, smaller than the first, humanoid, but formed entirely of fractal light, spiraling patterns moving across its body. Kai's breath caught. Another one, the being's eyes, or where its eyes would have been, glimmered directly at him. The spiral inside its chest pulsed in rhythm with the first fragment he had encountered. The bridge returns. Kai stepped forward cautiously. I'm the bridge, he said, almost whispering. The second fragment responded with a wave of resonance that swept over him. He felt warmth, connection, a thread linking him to the first fragment. The sound was music, but also language, ideas flowing through him like water. Saren kept a careful distance, hands hovering over her scanner. "What's it saying?" Kai swallowed. "It wants to be whole. It wants us to gather the others." The fragment's spiral brightened, spinning faster. Light arcs leaped from it to the surrounding crystals, forming patterns in the air. Suddenly, the canyon trembled. The floating shards rattled, scattering across the chamber like glass in a storm. Saren shouted, "Kai, hold on. Something's destabilizing the chamber." The floor cracked. Pieces of quartz dropped into unseen depths below. The second fragment rose higher, spirals flaring, casting Kai and Saren in brilliant, kaleidoscopic light. Kai felt the bridge connect pull stronger than ever. He knew the path forward. The location of the next fragment was calling. Follow, find the others, complete the song. Saren steered the starling upward as the canyon shook violently, shards and fragments slamming against the hull. With a surge of energy, the ship shot out of the canyon, leaving the spiraling chamber behind, the fragment's song lingering in Kai's mind. Outside, the crystalline flats stretched endlessly again, but Kai could feel the trail. The pulse of energy from the fragment left a faint wake, invisible to instruments but alive in him. He turned to Saren, eyes wide. "I can feel it. I know where to go next." Saren's grin returned, fierce and unshakable. "Well, bridge, lead the way. Let's see what the horizon wants us to find." The starling cut across the horizon of Calypsis, engines humming steady. Kai pressed a hand to the console, feeling the faint pulse of the second fragment still lingering in his chest. The connection to the first fragment had strengthened too, threads of light stretching invisibly through him. "Can you still feel it?" Saren asked, glancing at him from the pilot's chair. Kai nodded. "Yes, both of them, and I think I can sense the third one." "It's farther north, past the Ashen Peaks." Saren's brow furrowed. "Ashen Peaks, volcanic fields. You realize you're asking me to fly through storm columns and lava vents?" Kai shrugged, trying to keep his voice steady. "If it's part of the song, it's worth the risk." Saren exhaled sharply, then allowed a grin, spoken like a true bridge. "All right, northern course. But keep your hands inside the cockpit, bridge boy. The wastes aren't done with us yet." The flight over the Ashen Peaks was treacherous. Pillars of black rock jutted into the sky, cracked and smoking, rivers of molten rock carving paths through the valleys. Lightning struck from clouds tinged green with volcanic gas, each bolt twisting unnaturally as if guided by some invisible hand. Kai clutched the edge of the console. "I can see the pulse from the fragment through the storms. It's getting stronger." Saren's hands danced over the controls. "Good, because if we can't get past these storms, we're not going to reach it." The starling dove through a narrow canyon of obsidian rock. Sparks danced across the hull as the ship's shields absorbed the flying embers. Below, rivers of lava twisted like serpents, their heat warping the air. Kai's eyes widened. "This place is alive." Saren didn't respond, focused entirely on keeping them clear of the molten rivers, but he could see the brief flash of a smile in her eyes. Adventure was alive, yes, but so was danger, and they thrived in it. Hours later, they broke into a plateau beyond the worst of the storms. The starling hovered over a circular depression, its floor littered with metallic debris, old surveying equipment, fragments of gliders, and jagged shards of crystal that matched the pattern of the other fragments. Kai could feel the third fragment's presence like a heartbeat beneath his feet. It was stronger than the previous two, urgent and demanding. Saren's eyes scanned the area. "Looks like someone else has been here recently." Kai's pulse quickened. "The council, possibly," she said, "or scavengers. Either way, stay sharp." The fragment signal led them to a partially buried structure at the center of the plateau. Its walls were curved, glimmering faintly, and spirals etched into its surface pulsed with soft blue light. The hatch was cracked open. Kai swallowed hard. "This is it." They stepped carefully inside. The interior was vast, hollow, with floating shards of crystal spinning in slow orbits. At the center hovered the third fragment, smaller than the second, more delicate, yet radiating the same spiraling energy. Kai felt the bridge strengthen, threads of light connecting him to all three fragments. The third fragment pulsed, then sent a wave of resonance that enveloped him. "You are the bridge. The song is incomplete. We need the others." Kai's head swam with the voices of the first two fragments. The melody was growing, weaving into something he could almost understand. Suddenly, the sound of engines outside made them freeze. Outside the hatch, shadows moved, sleek ships, dark against the plateau. "Council," Saren muttered, crouching. They followed the signal. Kai's hands trembled. "They can't know the song." "They already do," Saren said grimly. "And if they interfere before we finish gathering the fragments..." She didn't finish the sentence. The implication was clear. The third fragment pulsed urgently. Kai felt it pressing against him, almost guiding him. "Protect the song, protect the bridge." Saren grabbed his arm. "We take it with us, fast, before they can touch it." Kai nodded, heart racing. He extended his hands toward the fragment. Light flowed into him, connecting him fully to the first two. The bridge was alive, thrumming through his veins. With a surge of energy, the fragment lifted, following his movement. The Starling's hatch opened, and they carried it aboard. Outside, Council ships descended, their sensors flaring. Saren hit the engines. The Starling roared to life, ascending in a blaze of light, dodging pulses of energy from the Council's ships. Kai held the fragment close. He could feel its pulse, like a heartbeat echoing through the hull. The bridge was strengthening with each second, the song growing clearer, louder, harmonizing with the other fragments. The Starling burst through the atmosphere of the plateau, engines straining against gravity and the Council's interference. Kai's connection to the fragments guided Saren through the safest route. The Council ships followed, but the Starling twisted, spun, and dove with impossible agility. Kai realized, with a thrill and a shock, that he could feel the Starling as well, not just the fragments, but the ship itself, responding to the song coursing through him. They escaped the plateau, leaving the Council behind, at least for now. The third fragment hovered before Kai, spirals of light dancing across its form. Kai exhaled, exhausted but exhilarated. "We did it." Saren gave a brief, fierce smile. "For now, but this is only the beginning. The others are out there and the Council won't give up." Kai nodded, looking out at the horizon. The melody of the fragments pulsed through him, urgent, alive. He understood now. The horizon wasn't just calling him, he was calling it back. And the song had only just begun. The Starling cut across a sea of violet dunes, the twin suns low on the horizon, turning the landscape into waves of shimmering light. Kai sat at the edge of the cockpit, hands pressed against the console, feeling the pulse of the three fragments thrumming through him. Each beat carried its own voice, weaving into a melody he could almost understand. Saren adjusted their course. The next fragment's energy is faint, but it's moving somewhere near the rifted expanse. That's a canyon system, volcanic and unstable, dangerous even without Council interference. Kai nodded. "I feel it. It's calling like the others did." "And if we miss it?" Saren asked sharply. Kai shook his head. "We won't." As they approached the rifted expanse, the terrain grew wild and unpredictable. Jagged cliffs tore through the sky, rivers of molten rock snaked between fissures, and the wind carried fine ash that made the air shimmer. The Starling shuddered under turbulent currents, but Saren guided it expertly, weaving between jagged peaks. Kai watched the horizon. Light flickered across the far cliffs, blue, pulsing, familiar. The fourth fragment, Saren frowned. "Looks like we've got company." On the cliffs ahead, two Council ships hovered, sensors flaring as they scanned for the fragments. Their sleek hulls glinted in the dying sunlight. Kai's pulse quickened. "They're following us again." Saren's hands danced over the controls. Time to lose them in the rift. "Hold on." The Starling dove into a narrow canyon, engines roaring. The Council ships pursued, their energy pulses lighting the walls like fireworks. Kai could feel the Starling responding to him, twisting and diving, as if guided by the song pulsing through his veins. He extended a hand toward the fragment chest straps, and the fourth fragment's pulse flared in answer. The song vibrated through him, echoing across the canyon walls. The Council ships faltered, scanners confused by the overlapping energies. Seren grinned. Looks like your connection is paying off. Kai swallowed, feeling both awe and fear. It's more than a connection. I can feel them, hear them, guide them. They found the fragment suspended above a volcanic vent, spirals of energy coiling around it like dancing ribbons of flame. Kai reached toward it cautiously. The fourth fragment responded instantly, light flaring and connecting to the threads inside him. The bridge returns. Complete the song, it resonated. Kai felt the first three fragments pulse in unison. The song began to take shape, harmonizing into something far larger, far older. It was not just melody, it was structure, memory, and life itself, embedded in the fragments. Suddenly, the ground shook. Jets of molten rock erupted from vents, sending the starling rocking. Kai braced himself. "Seren, the fragment," he shouted. Seren twisted the ship, dodging the bursts. "I've got it, hold on." Kai reached out, letting the song guide his hands. The fragment aligned itself, spiraling toward him, tethering to the starling. The ship shuddered as it absorbed the energy, becoming almost alive under his touch. The council ships closed in, firing warning pulses. Seren pushed the starling into a daring climb, weaving between lava streams, dodging and spinning as Kai directed the fragment's energy to stabilize their path. For a heartbeat, everything synchronized. The starling, the fragments, Kai, and the song. The pulse of the fragments flared in a radiant explosion, lighting the rifted expanse with a kaleidoscope of spirals. The council ships were thrown back by a surge of energy, forced to retreat. Kai slumped back, heart hammering. The fourth fragment hovered before him, spirals now fully glowing, singing faintly in harmony with the others. Seren let out a low whistle. "You did it. The song, it's growing." Kai pressed a hand to his chest. "It's alive, all of them together. It's more than I imagined." The fourth fragment pulsed gently, almost like a heartbeat. Kai realized something profound. The song wasn't just a melody or a guide, it was a living memory of Calypsis itself, and the fragments were pieces of a being older than humans, waiting to be whole again. Seren's voice broke into his thoughts. "Next fragment," Kai nodded. "Northwest, beyond the shattered wastes. But we'll need more than skill this time. The council is tracking us, and the song, it's calling them too." Seren's eyes narrowed, her grin fierce. "Then we'll meet them head-on. Let's see who's brave enough to follow the bridge." Kai looked out over the glowing horizon. The fragments pulsed with urgency. Each beat was a reminder. The song was alive, the bridge was real, and the adventure was only beginning. The starling soared over a jagged expanse of cliffs and shadowed valleys. The pulse of the four fragments thrummed through Kai's chest, now weaving into a melody that seemed to reach beyond himself, beyond even the ship. He could almost feel the land beneath them responding, the mountains and valleys echoing the song. Seren adjusted the course. Northwest, past the shattered wastes. According to the readings, that's where the fifth fragment is hiding. Kai closed his eyes for a moment. He could sense it, a faint pulse, smaller than the others but insistent, as if the fragment itself was waiting for them to find it. The song hummed in response, tugging him like a magnet. "This one's tricky," Seren warned. "The wastes, they aren't just dangerous, they're alive. We need to be careful. One misstep," Kai nodded. "I know." The shattered wastes were a nightmare of broken rock and jagged canyons formed in some ancient cataclysm. The wind carried fine, sharp ash, and twisted shadows moved unnaturally, playing tricks on the eyes. The starling threaded through narrow corridors, sparks flying off the hull as it brushed against razor-sharp ridges. Kai's pulse raced. "I can feel it, it's close." Seren squinted at the horizon. "I see it too, blue glow, faint but persistent." As they approached, the landscape shifted. Crystalline spires jutted from the ground, some fractured, some intact, and light refracted in patterns that made the air seem liquid. Kai's connection to the fragments flared in response, pulling him toward the pulse with irresistible force. At the center of a shallow crater, the fifth fragment hovered. Unlike the others, it was small, delicate, almost ethereal, with spirals of light that rippled outward like water. Kai stepped closer, reaching out instinctively. The fragment responded immediately, linking to him and the other four. The song resonated, harmonizing perfectly across all the fragments. For a heartbeat, Kai felt the world itself hold its breath. You are the bridge, the fifth fragment's pulse resonated. Complete the song. The horizon awaits. Kai swallowed hard. I can feel it now. The melody, it's more than just a song. It's the memory of this world, of everything that has lived here. Saren's voice broke his reverie. And if the council gets here before we understand it, Kai's eyes hardened. Then we make sure they don't. We have to protect it, all of it. No sooner had he spoken than the ground trembled. A fissure split the crater's edge, releasing a plume of smoke and molten rock. The fragment hovered higher, spirals flaring in warning. Saren hit the Starling's engines, twisting the ship to avoid falling debris. Hold on, she shouted. Kai focused, letting the song guide his hands. He felt the fragments pulse in rhythm with the Starling, their energy stabilizing the ship as it maneuvered through the erupting crater. Sparks and ash danced around them, but the Starling moved as if alive, responding to the melody that now coursed through Kai. From above, council ships appeared, dark shapes against the glowing sky, sensors flaring. They've found us, Saren growled. Ready for a fight? Kai nodded, feeling the song surge. We don't fight, we move. Let them chase the melody, they can't touch it. The Starling darted between spires of crystal and molten rock, the fragments pulsing in perfect synchrony. Kai guided the ship with intuition born of the bridge, weaving through the hazardous terrain while the council ships fired warning pulses. For a moment, everything aligned, the Starling, the fragments, Kai's heartbeat, and the rhythm of the world. The song swelled, filling the wastes with spiraling light and sound. The council ships faltered, unable to navigate the synchronized chaos of energy, crystal, and melody. Kai exhaled, heart pounding, as the fifth fragment aligned fully with the others. Its light flared, threads of connection weaving through all fragments, forming a lattice of energy that pulsed through him. Saren let out a long whistle. Bridge boy, I think we just leveled up. Kai looked out over the horizon, the fragments' spirals reflecting in the jagged terrain. We're not done, he said quietly. There are more, and the song isn't finished yet. Saren's eyes narrowed, a mixture of worry and excitement. Then we keep going, one horizon at a time. The Starling turned northward again, engines humming steady. Kai pressed a hand to his chest, feeling the song pulse through him, guiding them toward the next fragment and the next chapter of the adventure. The Starling sliced through a dense layer of ash clouds, the horizon barely visible through the grey haze. Kai's chest throbbed with the pulse of 5 fragments, now vibrating in near-perfect harmony. The melody had grown richer, layered with complexity he could almost, but not quite, comprehend. Saren's hands gripped the controls tightly. The 6th fragment's energy is stronger than the last. It's moving faster, almost like it knows we're coming. And the Council, they've deployed heavier ships this time. We can't outrun them forever. Kai's jaw tightened. Then we don't need to outrun them. We just need to get the fragment first. Saren raised an eyebrow, bold words for someone who's technically a passenger. Kai smirked briefly, but the song thrumming through him kept his focus razor-sharp. He could sense the 6th fragment ahead, a faint blue pulse, flickering erratically like a candle struggling in the wind. They entered the Ashen Vale, a canyon system that twisted and spiraled downward into shadowed valleys. Jagged rock formations jutted unpredictably, while geysers of volcanic gas hissed from fissures in the ground. The Starling's hull shivered under the turbulence. Kai pressed a hand to the console. I can feel it. The fragments close and it's scared. Saren frowned. Scared? Fragments don't feel fear, do they? Kai shook his head. Not like this. It's running, trying to hide. Something's wrong. Ahead, the faint glow of the fragment pulsed between spires of black stone. Kai extended his senses, letting the song guide him. Threads of light stretched from the fragment, reaching toward him like fingers, urging him forward. Suddenly, a massive shadow crossed the canyon. One of the Council's battle cruisers descended from the clouds, its hull bristling with energy cannons. Saren's hands flew over the controls. Kai, brace yourself. They're not letting us through without a fight. The starling darted between jagged rock spires, dodging blasts that erupted in brilliant arcs of energy. Sparks rained across the hull as the fragment pulsed wildly, its spirals spinning faster in fear. Kai focused, feeling the fragment's pulse sync with the others. Bridgie, guide, protect. With a surge of clarity, Kai reached out, connecting with the fragment. Threads of light shot from him to the starling, weaving around the engines and stabilizing the ship. Seren gasped. "You're doing what?" Kai didn't answer. The fragment's fear became a rhythm in his chest, and instinct guided his hands. He steered the starling through narrow gaps between rock spires, twisting and diving as energy pulses from the Council ship streaked past. The sixth fragment floated ahead, spiraling toward him as if tethered to the melody he carried. For a heartbeat, the fragments sang in unison. The canyon walls reflected the combined light in dazzling patterns, disorienting the Council's senses. Finally, the fragment descended into a crater at the canyon's center. The starling hovered above as Kai reached out. The sixth fragment's light flared, connecting instantly to the five others. The song swelled in his mind, filling the canyon with a radiant spiral of sound and energy. Kai's heart pounded. The melody was almost complete. He could feel the full lattice forming, linking him to all six fragments. Seren's voice broke through his thoughts. "We got it, all six, but the Council isn't done chasing us yet." Kai nodded. "I know, and I think I can feel where the last fragments are. The song is pointing the way." Outside, the Council ships hesitated, unable to penetrate the surge of energy radiating from the fragments. Kai realized the song wasn't just a guide, it was a shield, a map, and a warning all at once. The sixth fragment hovered close, its spirals pulsing in rhythm with his heartbeat. "Bridgie, we are near completion. Protect us. Finish the song." Kai swallowed, feeling the weight of the responsibility. The horizon was calling, the fragments were alive, and the Council was relentless. But for the first time, he felt something else: hope. Seren glanced at him, eyes sharp but trusting. "Ready for the next horizon?" Kai nodded. "More than ever. Let's find the rest and finish the song." The starling glided over the jagged cliffs of the Glasspire Plateau, a land of towering crystal formations that refracted the twin suns into endless rainbows. Kai's chest throbbed with the pulse of six fragments, each one harmonizing in complex spirals that now resonated with the land itself. The melody was becoming clearer, more insistent, almost like a living entity calling to him. Seren adjusted the course, eyes scanning the horizon. The seventh fragment's signal is strong, but it's moving, not hiding, but running. Something is stirring it. Kai nodded. "I can feel it. Something is alive there, waiting for us." The plateau was unlike anything they had encountered. Crystals jutted from the ground at impossible angles, some spinning slowly on their own axes, refracting light into moving patterns. Shadows danced unnaturally across the fractured terrain. Kai leaned forward, sensing the fragment through the threads of the song. There. Up ahead, the starling descended into a narrow valley carved entirely from transparent crystal. The fragment hovered above the ground, smaller than the others, but its spirals pulsed with urgency. "Bridgie, we are ready." It resonated inside Kai. "Finish the melody." Kai felt the pulse of all six fragments synchronize, guiding him. The song surged through his veins, vibrating through the starling, even through the canyon walls. Seren's voice cut through the hum. "Kai, it's reacting to you. Be careful." Before he could respond, the ground trembled. A fissure split the crystal valley, shards cracking and spinning as if alive. The fragment flared brightly, sending arcs of energy across the spires. From above, Council ships descended in formation. Their weapons bristled, sensors scanning for the fragment's energy. Seren's hands flew over the controls. "Brace yourself. They're not letting us take it without a fight." Kai focused, letting the song guide him. Threads of light extended from him to the sixth fragment, and then to the seventh, stabilizing the starling as it dodged lasers and twisted through the canyon. The fragments pulsed in rhythm with his heartbeat, amplifying his connection to the starling and guiding them through impossible angles. Bridgie, protect us. Finish the song, the fragments whispered in unison. Kai's eyes locked on the seventh fragment. He reached out instinctively. Light leapt from it, linking with the other six, forming a lattice of energy that wrapped around the starling. The council ships fired, but their pulses were absorbed into the expanding web of spirals. The fragment responded fully, spirals flaring as Kai's hands moved instinctively. The starling shot upward, dodging falling crystal shards and energy pulses, the song guiding every twist and dive. Finally, they broke free from the valley. The seventh fragment hovered before Kai, spirals glowing brilliantly, harmonizing perfectly with the others. The song had grown more complete, filling his mind with melody, memory, and purpose. Kai exhaled, heart pounding. We did it. 7 fragments. Saren slumped back in her seat, wiping sweat from her brow. Not bad, bridge boy, not bad at all, but I have a feeling the council isn't finished. Kai nodded, feeling the weight of the song in his chest. The fragments were alive, the melody was almost complete, and the horizon was calling louder than ever. The 7th fragment pulsed gently, almost like a heartbeat. Kai understood. The final pieces of the song were within reach. He looked out over the glass plateau, the fragments, light reflecting in the crystal formations. There are only a few left, he said quietly, and the song, it's more than I imagined. Saren's eyes gleamed. Then let's finish it, one horizon at a time. The starling turned northward again, engines humming steady. Kai pressed a hand to his chest, feeling the song pulse through him, guiding them toward the 8th fragment, and the next step in the melody that would shape Calypsis itself. The starling drifted over a vast, glittering desert, the sands stretching endlessly, fractured by crystalline outcrops that reflected the twin suns into dizzying patterns. Kai felt the pulse of 7 fragments in his chest, their spirals weaving into a melody so complex it seemed to thrum through the land itself. Saren adjusted their course. The 8th fragment is moving faster than the others. Its signal is irregular, like it's trying to hide or run. Kai closed his eyes, feeling the fragment calling through the song. It's ahead, past the shimmering flats. And I can feel something else, something trying to block it. The council, yes, but also something older. The land itself is alive here. Saren exhaled. Great, alive and deadly, perfect. The shimmering flats were a realm of distorted light and heat. The sand rippled like water, and strange, crystalline spires rose from the ground at impossible angles. The starling's sensors flickered under the interference, making navigation treacherous. Kai leaned forward, letting the song guide him. Threads of light extended from the fragments, tugging him toward the 8th fragment's pulse. It flickered faintly among the shifting sands, a distant blue beacon. Saren's voice cut through the hum. Kai, the signal's unstable. We need to move fast before the council catches up. Kai nodded. I know, I can feel it. It's trying to hide, but it's waiting for me. They approached a canyon carved of black crystal. The fragment hovered within, spirals pulsing in rapid bursts as if nervous. Kai stepped forward. It's scared, and alone, I can feel it. The starling hovered over the canyon as Kai reached out, letting the song guide his hands. Threads of light extended from the fragment, linking it to the others. Its spirals flared, resonating with the melody flowing through Kai. Bridge, protect. Complete the song. Council ships appeared above the canyon, dark silhouettes against the glowing sands. Energy pulses streaked toward them. Saren's hands moved over the controls with practiced precision. Kai, hold on, they're not giving up. Kai focused, letting the song guide him. The 8th fragment pulsed violently, sending waves of energy outward. The starling twisted and dove, shards of black crystal spinning past as the song guided every movement. The fragment's harmonies flared in his mind. The starling responded as if alive, dodging the council's pulses and carving a path through the canyon. Kai extended his senses further, pulling the 8th fragment closer, syncing it with the others. The council ships faltered, unable to navigate the combined energy of the fragments. Spirals of light filled the canyon, creating illusions and pathways visible only to those connected to the song. Finally, Kai reached the 8th fragment. It floated close, spirals flaring, pulsing in rhythm with the others. The song surged through him, connecting all 8 fragments in perfect harmony. For the first time, the melody felt like a living entity, a thread weaving through Calypsis itself. Kai's heartbeat matched the rhythm of the fragments. We are almost whole. Protect the bridge. Complete the song. Saren exhaled. 8 down, how many more to go? Kai felt the pull of the remaining fragments, distant but alive. 2, maybe 3. But this is where the song starts to show its purpose. We are close to understanding what it wants. The 8th fragment pulsed gently, almost like a heartbeat, and Kai realized the fragments were not just pieces of the song, they were pieces of Calypsis itself. The memory, the energy, the life of the planet was embedded in them, waiting for the bridge to bring it together. Saren's eyes gleamed. Then let's find the rest. The horizon's waiting, and so are the others. Kai pressed a hand to his chest, feeling the melody flow through him, guiding the starling northward toward the final fragments. The song was alive, and so was their adventure. The starling soared above the final horizon of Calypsis, the land below a tapestry of colors Kai had never truly noticed until now. Silver rivers winding through forests of glass trees, crystalline mountains catching the twin suns, deserts that shimmered like living oceans. The song pulsed stronger than ever, weaving through the fragments that floated around him, 8 now 9, and all of them calling to the final pieces. Saren glanced at him, eyes bright with the thrill of the chase. This is it, Kai, the last one maybe too. After this, we finish the song, right? Kai nodded, feeling the bridge thrumming in his chest. Yes, and it's more than just a song now. It's alive, it's Calypsis itself, waiting for us to bring it whole. The final fragments waited at the crystal spire, a towering formation that seemed to pierce the sky itself. From the starling's view, the fragments glowed faintly, their spirals spinning in a quiet anticipation. The air hummed with energy, the land itself vibrating with the melody Kai now understood as a living memory of the planet. They descended carefully. The starling hovered as Kai reached out, threads of light weaving from the last 2 fragments to the lattice of 9 already connected. The song surged through him, filling every fiber of his being. He felt the pulse of the land, the rivers, the forests, even the deserts, all singing with the fragments. The council arrived, a fleet of ships, weapons ready, but when they approached, the fragments reacted. Spirals of energy radiated outward, creating a protective barrier of light that warped perception, confusing sensors and engines alike. The council hesitated, realizing they could not interfere with something alive. Kai felt the final fragments latch onto the song, completing the lattice. A harmonic explosion of light spiraled upward, cascading across the land. The melody of Calypsis, long fractured and scattered, began to weave itself back together through the bridge of Kai's being. He closed his eyes. The fragments pulsed in perfect rhythm. The song lifted from the planet's surface, echoing into the sky, and the land itself seemed to breathe, responding with a shimmer of life and hope. When Kai opened his eyes, the starling floated above a transformed Calypsis. The wastes had softened, deserts shimmering with life. Forests glowed with renewed vitality, rivers sparkled with crystal clarity, and the glass towers hummed gently, their resonance no longer lonely but part of a planetary symphony. Saren leaned back, grinning. Looks like we did it. The horizon's alive. Kai smiled, feeling the bridge inside him calm yet vibrant. The fragments had become whole. The song was complete. He could feel the memory of Calypsis, its energy and life restored, and he knew it would thrive now, safe and alive. The council, meanwhile, had retreated, outmatched by something they could neither control nor comprehend. They left quietly, as if acknowledging that some things are meant to be free. Kai and Saren rose into the sky in the starling, fragments surrounding them, light spilling into the heavens. Kai reached out, and the fragments responded with a final surge of energy, a chorus of spirals that wrapped the planet in harmony. He realized fully that he was not just a human on Calypsis. He was the bridge, the one who had guided the song back to life. And in that moment, he felt hope, not just for himself, but for the planet, for the horizon, and for all the adventures yet to come. Seren laughed softly. Well, bridge boy, where to next? Kai glanced out at the sparkling horizon, the land alive beneath the twin suns. Anywhere the song leads, the adventure isn't over, it's only beginning. The starling lifted, carrying them across a world restored, spirals of light and melody trailing behind them, a living testament to the bridge that had brought Calypsis back to life. And the song sang on.